necessary for Head Start. But what about child care? What about the ability of some parents? I say that because some of the more recent information that we found indicated that it costs approximately $3,000 to $5,000 a year nationally to keep a child in a child care institution.
It's pretty difficult for low-income parents to afford daycare, and so it does need to be subsidized. And that's a very important. I think sometimes we forget that how expensive it is, and for low income, it needs to be. They need some help.
Well, what are we doing in order to help meet that as a need?
Programs like United Way, churches have been able to support programs. Private organizations help subsidize licensed care for parents. Parents don't really pay the total cost of daycare. I think sometimes they think they do. They really don't.
And so even in the state of Tennessee, where daycare is provided through centers and whatnot, that the parent really is not paying the entire cost, even though officially he or she might not receive the same kind of financial support that they receive through Head Start.
Right, that's true.
And so the ability to pay is a very, very important component. Now, what are we doing in the state of Tennessee in order to make sure that more and more students, children, can become a part of daycare?
I think, well, the legislature is working really hard to work with, well, on the federal level. This ABC bill, the Act for Better Child Care, is something that our state is looking forward to. It's a comprehensive piece of legislation that will provide, will help parents to pay for daycare, to help improve the quality, to develop more daycare programs, and to do more expansion of programs.
Very good. I understand that approximately 70%, since you mentioned the ABC bill, that approximately 70% of the American people are in favor of child care one way or the other. Yet it seems that we have a very difficult time trying to get any kind of real support through such efforts as the ABC bill. Why is that?
Well, I think people are really ready for some kind of help from the federal government, and I think right now that what we need to do as consumers is to support our congressmen and senators and write the president and let him know that we want help from the federal government.
Mr. Hunt, you've been involved with the federal government and with Congress as an assistant to Mayor Boner when he was the congressional representative for the 5th Congressional District. How do you see the chances of the ABC bill becoming a reality? That is, the passage of such a bill that would sort of provide financial support for all of those who need child care.
I think the ABC bill is closer to reality now than it ever has been. However, as you may or may not know, they are having some very difficult times trying to hammer out this year's budget. They haven't been able to come up with a number, and if they don't come out by a number and the Graham-Rudman go into effect, then I think there's a lot of bill ABC and domestic spending bills going to suffer a severe cut. But I want to go back to something that we mentioned just a few minutes ago, and we just finished talking about that in board meetings. We have a lot of agencies that are in the child care business, private and for-profit, non-profit. However, there have never been enough funding to cover the cost of putting all the kids in a daycare. Ours could be looked upon as a daycare. However, my primary mission is to take the 4-year-old, and that's what we are serving now. We have something 640 4-year-olds. We will try to develop that 4-year-old whereby they can make the transition into kindergarten, and there from kindergarten to the 1st grade. The statistics have shown that the Head Start children with that type of care tends to do better than kids who don't get the Head Start experience. It's just a comprehensive bill, but I would like to say that it do in fact overlap a lot of what DHS is doing, because DHS is our license authority. A lot of our funding, such as the child care food program, comes through DHS. So there's an overlapping, and I think with that comprehensive plan between Head Start, DHS, and the federal government, we have been able to do a lot more than we would have had we not had it. Speaking of child care in Tennessee, when you put the Head Start program in there, Nashville, Chattanooga, Memphis, when you look at just those numbers alone in the Head Start program, it puts Tennessee pretty much at the top. That's not even talking about your for-profit organization. So we're ranked pretty high in terms of numbers, but we still have a long way to go. And I like to say that the component that make child care or child development program work is the community. You have to have community support. We have a program now whereby when we bring our children in and they're from the lower economic families, we try to convince the parents to come in with them. And when they get there, because a lot of them are not employed, then they go through our GED program in one location of the building, whereas the kids are going through another program. And at the same time, they eat lunch together. After lunch, and they go back to their prospective learning areas, and then they go home.
So in reality, it is a much broader emphasis upon child care than perhaps a more narrow point of view that we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also see a problem here, Ms. Arrington, and perhaps you might be able to help us. If we contend that the average price for keeping a child in one of these facilities is between $3,000 and $5,000 a year, and your organization will take in only 4-year-olds, and it will do it primarily at no cost to the parents. What happens to that child after that child leaves the Head Start program and then enters into a kindergarten? Is there any funds to pick up that same child who was able to get through Head Start free, but at the same time now he or she is on their own? I mean, I see is that a problem?
Let me tell you, first of all, our cost is much cheaper than I guess, for-profit daycare. It costs us approximately $2,045 a year for one child to go through that. When they graduate the Head Start program, hopefully, and in most cases, they go right on to kindergarten. So there's no gap there. The only problem that we have is when we graduate a 4-year-old who's going to be 5, but his birthday occurs like September the 30th. He can't make the school system, so he's got another year he's got to sit out. Those are the only blank areas that I've found. So that kid's got to go somewhere for a year because he's finished Head Start, but his age gap prevented him from going into public school. But that's an exception rather than a rule. In most cases, once they come out of Head Start, or some 600 or 740 kids we'll have by October, then hopefully that 740 will go into kindergarten. Completion upon kindergarten, then go into first grade, and then they're on the way.
Very good. Ms. Arrington, one of the things that we've talked about child care is the need for child care, but at the same time we have to talk about the quality of child care and the training. I think your responsibilities require you not only to make trips throughout the state, but it also requires you to do quite a bit of training. And could you give us some information relative to some of the problems or some of the successes that you're having in terms of trying to train child care workers? And I say this primarily because we hear all kinds of horror stories in reference to unlicensed facilities and in reference to some of the indeed fatalities that might result as a result of some of these unlicensed facilities. What about training?
Okay, I guess